So I did a thing. I'm getting rid of over half of my books, and I don't really know what to think about that. Hello everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Vic, and for today's video I'm doing probably the biggest unhaul I will ever do. If you've watched some of my more recent videos, I did a video reading all of the unread ebooks on my Kindle, and I mentioned in that how much I was loving reading on the Kindle and the benefits that I was finding that to have. And then at the end of that video I started to kind of have a little bit of a crisis where I was talking about my whole relationship to reading. I was being very existential about the whole situation. But it really did get me thinking. I decided, probably the day I finished filming that I wanted to downsize my personal library. Financially, I cannot sustain purchasing all the books that I want to read. That's just out of the question at the moment. Maybe one day. But also, storage is an issue for me. I'm actually getting rid of so many books that I'm getting rid of an entire bookcase. That was my goal. I said I wanted to get rid of a bookcase. And that being said, this one doesn't have any books on it. It has DVDs on it. It has my Disney movies. And not only that, but I'm in a big decluttering mood this year in general. I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff. Books have always been something that I get rid of. Trying to get rid of books so frequently and at such high volumes is really difficult. I'm not looking forward to having to rehome all these books because it's so much admin. It is just so much admin to have to get rid of things. So, do you know what's gonna stop all the admin? Having less things. Having come to the conclusion that 1, I love my library, and 2, I love my Kindle, owning so many physical books is no longer really a necessity for me. So I went ham. I got rid of so many things. So many of these books that I'm going to be showing you are books that I absolutely love. 5-star books, some of my favorite books of all time even. I just don't want to own them anymore. It doesn't make sense to me either, but I know that I love watching unhauls and watching people do this kind of thing, so I figured I would make it a video because it's the exact kind of video I would love to watch. And you know what, maybe I'll inspire you guys to go through your books a little bit. Obviously I don't expect everybody to downsize their libraries, that would be absolutely wild, but sometimes it is good to go through and just get rid of some of the things you no longer feel like you need to have, or that you really didn't like but just kept anyway. But without further ado, I have no idea how many books I'm about to be going through because I didn't count them. I'll count them in post. I'll give that job to editing me. She won't like that. She will hate that actually, but she doesn't have a choice. So this is the number of books we will be getting rid of in this video. This number right here. There is a mixture of fiction and non-fiction. There is a mixture of read and unread. It is very much mostly books I have read. The only unread books I'm getting rid of are ones that I no longer have interest in reading. I have kept books in my TBR that I feel like once I read them I won't want to keep them because I do still want to read them, and I think it would be very stupid to get rid of it when I have the option to read the one I own. This is going to be an absolute nightmare. Now if I get rid of any books that you absolutely love, this is definitely not me saying I hate the book, because I'm getting rid of books that I absolutely love. I'm just getting rid of everything. And I know you're looking behind me and you're like, bitch, you're keeping Bridgerton and Twilight. You keeping that and you're gonna get rid of XYZ book? Yes. Yes, I am, because I can see myself rereading those series a lot. So, judge me if you want, but I'd rather you didn't. But we're gonna get started because otherwise I won't start. First up, I'm gonna get rid of From Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, both by Jennifer L. Armentrout. These are the first 2 books in the Blood and Ash series. I did enjoy these. I do plan on continuing the series, but I plan on doing so as ebooks. Future Girl by Asphyxia. This was a really cool sci-fi book. It's got like colored ink and stuff. It's actually a really cool book, and it was a really interesting story. The main character is deaf, and it's like a dystopian world where deafness is like a epidemic, and people who are deaf are considered like second-class citizens kind of thing. It's very interesting. I enjoyed it, but I'm never gonna reread it. Next up, I have 4 books from the Disney Twisted Tales series. I've read 5 so far, and I've kept all the ones that I haven't read because I do really like these. I just don't want to own them, and I know this one was in my favorite books of the quarter in my quarterly wrap-up. It's one of the only 5 stars I've given out this year. Doesn't mean I want to keep it. But anyway, we have Part of Your World by Liz Braswell, As Old as Time by Liz Braswell, A Whole New World by Liz Braswell, and Reflection by by Elizabeth Lim. Next up, I have a whole bunch of Anna Marie McLemore books. I really enjoyed these. I haven't actually read The Moon Was Ours, so that one's just what I'm getting rid of. I have read these four: Wild Beauty, Dark and Deepest Red, The Mirror Season, and Lake Lore. I really liked these. I really liked these. I'm never gonna pick them up again though. Tiger Lily by Jodie Lynn Anderson. This is kind of like a Peter Pan retelling told by the perspective of Tiger Lily. I really liked this when I read it. A lot of this is me getting rid of young adult stuff that I've kept for a very long time. Home by Julie Andrews. I've owned this for the longest time. This is a memoir of her early years. I was really interested in reading this, but I've owned it since, what, 2020? And I've never tried to read it. I need to accept I'm not gonna. I'm not a big celebrity memoir person. When Sparks Fly by Helena Hunting, I have a lot of romance in this unhaul. I haven't actually read this one, but it just doesn't, I don't know. I've owned this for years and not picked it up. A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. I was really excited about this. I actually pre-ordered this book. I still haven't read it. This is a Regency romance with a trans main character. This author takes a lot of leeway when they write historical, by the way. They do it for the vibes, not for historical accuracy. I have a very love-hate relationship with Alexis Hall's writing. I've read a couple of his works in the past and I'm always like, oh, I like the concept and the characters, but this writing isn't for me. And I think that's why I've never picked this up, because look how chunky. So it's going. Herc by Phoenicia Rogerson. I just bought this and I just read this like recently. I enjoyed it. It was a really interesting take on the myth of Hercules, but I don't want to keep it. Next up, I have a couple of Margaret Rogerson books, An Enchantment of Ravens and Sorcery of Thorns. Loved both of these. I think this was a 4-star and a 5-star. These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. I haven't read this one. Sounds like every other YA fantasy, to be quite honest. This kind of fantasy story, I want to read like an adult version of it now. Oh god, the stack that I'm building here is very unorganized. It's very unstable. Not the Witch You Wed by April Asher. I read this a few years ago. Really enjoyed it. It's a supernatural adult romance with werewolves and witches and stuff. I really liked it. I'm never gonna pick it up again. But I do feel like I could continue on with this series as ebooks. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. This edition is illustrated by Oliver Jeffers. It's actually really cute. There's an example of an image that isn't a Nazi. Look, it's so cute. Within These Lines by Stephanie Morrill. This is a World War II fiction story following an interracial couple in America, one of which is Japanese American and one is Italian American, and it's kind of going into the whole Japanese internment camps, which I didn't know were a thing, by the way. Good god. America, what are you doing? I really liked this. Never gonna reread it. In Deeper Waters and So This Is Ever After, both by F.T. Lukens. Love these books. They were some of my favorite books the year I read them. Don't need to keep them. Suitors in Sabotage and Carols in Chaos by Cindy Anstey. These are historical fiction. They're fine. I liked them. Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge. I think this is just a little too dense for me. When it comes to non-fiction, I have to strike the right point in the author's writing tone for it to be something I can actually get through. Or I get really confused or bored. This particular one, the writing style doesn't gel with me. The Queen by Andrew Morton. This is a biography of the Queen. This came out during the celebration of her Platinum Jubilee, which was, I believe, earlier in the year that she died. And I bought this when she died because I was like, oh my god, the Queen! I don't know why. I'm not like a royalist or anything. I don't follow the royal family. I don't particularly care about the royal family, but it made me really sad when the Queen died. So I wanted to read this and learn more about her life, but I've not touched it. And I'm no longer interested in reading it. Then I have Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Kuznia. I started reading this Christmas of 2022, the Christmas season. I was filming a vlog where I was reading Christmassy books and I started this one and I only got this far through. Page 114. And then I put it down. There was a lot going on in my family at the end of that year and the start of 2023. I have no desire to pick it back up. I was thinking about it when I was going through all my books and I was like, you know what? What I'd read I liked, but it feels 3-star energy. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of it, which is kind of sad because it is a Nutcracker retelling. It's an adult Nutcracker retelling. I love the Nutcracker. I'm obsessed with the Nutcracker, but this, it's just not vibing for me, so it needs to go. And then I have two of my favorite books of all time. Cemetery Boys and Lost in the Neverwoods, both by Aidan Thomas. I absolutely loved these books. Loved them so much. They are some of my favorites from the last few years for sure, but I, for some reason, don't want to own them anymore. I can't make sense of it. You can't make sense of it. It's just the way it is. That's the first chunk. Now I have to get up and get more stacks down and charge my camera battery because she's dying. I'll be back in a minute. I think I've moved the camera. Yeah, my camera battery isn't happy with me, but that's just it's gonna have to deal. I have a couple of Christmas romance books from Tessa Bailey. I have Window Shopping and Wreck the Halls. Read Window Shopping a couple of years ago, quite liked it. This doesn't sound like it has anything to do with Christmas. I read like 5 pages last year before Christmas and then put it down, and now I don't want to read it. Tokyo Ever After and the sequel Tokyo Dreaming, both by Emiko Jean. I read this book when it first came out, absolutely loved it. I pre-ordered this one, never read it. Goodbye books. I have the Selection series trilogy, the original trilogy. There's like 3 more books now, but the original trilogy by Kira Cass. So the Selection, the Elite, and the One. I have kept these through so many unhauls because they feel like the kind of book I might reread, but then I keep not rereading them. And if I do want to reread them, I'm sure they're at the library or something. I don't need to own them physically. Also by Kira Cass, I have 1,000 Heartbeats. I read this not that long ago, year before last maybe. I really liked it, but never gonna reread it. Icebreaker and Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I love these. I do. I really do. I'm so excited about the 3rd book, but I've decided that moving forward I want to read ebooks. I don't actually know how many more books are going to be in this series. Is it just going to be the 3? I feel like it's going to be longer than that. The Marriage Game and The Dating Plan, both by Sarah Desai. These are just some adult romance. I have the whole School for Good and Evil series. I absolutely loved this middle grade series. I will pick up the other books, but there's a lot of them and I don't want to pick them all up at one go. I really liked this series and I would recommend it. I just don't feel the need to own it anymore and it takes up a lot of space on my shelves. It's a chunky series, but I liked it, so I would recommend it if you're interested. But School for Good and Evil, oh, also these are by Saman Chainani. It's like I've forgotten how to booktube. A World Without Princes, The Last Ever After, this is the kind of thickness most of these books are, Quests for Glory, A Crystal of Time, and One True King. Spoiler alert by Olivia Dade. I really liked this when I read it. I'm never gonna reread it though. This is an adult romance book following a girl who likes to cosplay and writes fan fiction for this particular series, and she starts communicating with this guy who, lo and behold, is actually a star on the show, but like no one knows that, and it's a whole situation and it's great and I loved it. The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. This is another adult romance. This time it takes place on a dating show, except it's queer. One of our love interests is the guy, like the main guy on the dating show who all the girls are competing to go out with, and the other guy is one of the crew. I seem to really like romance books set on dating shows, which is really funny because I hate dating shows. Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I read this not long ago, last quarter. Really wasn't my fave. I was quite disappointed because I thought I was gonna love this, and then I just really didn't. Fool Me Twice at Christmas by Camilla Eiley. This is another adult romance Christmas book. These people were together and their families are like closely connected. They're not together anymore, but they haven't told their families, so they have to pretend to be together. Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. I actually already have this as an ebook because I bought this physically, and the copy that arrived to me, half of the pages were like the same pages repeated and I was just missing a big chunk of the book. So I did get a replacement copy sent to me, but I only noticed that issue when I'd already reached a certain point through the book, so I bought the ebook to be able to finish it. So I have an ebook. I don't need to keep the physical one. If I ever want to reread it, the ebook is there. I have the rest of my Helena Hunting books. I think I showed one earlier that I haven't read. These are the ones that I have read. Clipped Wings and Inked Armor. These are part of a series. The Good Luck Charm, Meet Cute, and Kiss My Cupcake. These are all adult romance. I quite liked them. I really quite liked them, but I'm not gonna reread them. Accidentally Engaged by Farrah Heron. Adult romance, fake engagement. So fake dating, but engaged this time. I enjoyed it. Never gonna reread it. Beach Read by Emily Henry. Love this book. Don't feel the need to own it. A Million Junes by Emily Henry. Love this book. Don't feel the need to own it. Okay, my hair is literally like falling out, so I need to fix that. I need to charge my camera battery and I need to get more books. I'll be back. Okay. I have more. I have the next round. Let's keep going. If I Never Met You and Just Last Night, both by Vari McFarlane. This is an adult romance author. These are both adult romances. I really enjoyed them. We're all surprised. The Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. I read these years ago. I bought these editions because I thought they looked cool on my shelves, making up this skyline. I'm never gonna reread these. I no longer feel like having this skyline on my shelves matches me, so I'm gonna pass them along. The Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. Summer Suns by Lee Mandello. I just read this in my trying horror books for the first time video, and I did really like it. Crown of Ivy and Glass by Claire Legrand. I read this in January and I really liked it as well, and I do want to continue with the series, but I think I'll continue on with it as ebooks. Next, I have a bunch of books that will actually surprise a lot of people. I have a whole bunch of Christina Lauren books. I absolutely love Christina Lauren. She's one of my favorite authors. For a long time, she was an auto-buy author for me. I've read all of these. I really enjoyed all of these. I just don't, you guessed it, need to keep them. So I have Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, My Favorite Half Night Stand, Twice in a Blue Moon, The Honey Don't List, and The Soulmate Equation. I will most likely give these to one of my best friends. She just recently read a Christina Lauren and was like, oh my god, I loved this! And I'm like, yes, I told you, I've been telling you to read that author for so long. Fight or Flight by Samantha Young. This is dusty. No, it's not. Got marks on it. Okay. This is an adult romance book. I read it years ago. I liked it. Never gonna revisit it. Hide by Kirsten White. I also read this for my reading horror for the first time vlog, and I didn't really like this one. I mean, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it, but it wasn't very good. A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kovo. I read this recently. I got this so recently, I haven't even hauled it yet, and now I'm getting rid of it. It wasn't my favorite thing, to be frank. It was okay. Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins. I loved this at the time. Never gonna revisit it. By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. This is part of the Meant to Be series, which isn't really a series. Each book is a complete standalone thing. They are like modern contemporary retellings of Disney fairy tales. This one was Beauty and the Beast. I liked it, but guess what? I don't need to keep it. Next up, I have the Firebird trilogy by Claudia Gray. This is 1,000 Pieces of You, 10,000 Skies Above You, and A Million Worlds with You. I read these when I was in high school. I loved them, and I've like kind of wanted to reread the series for a long time, and I just keep not doing it, and I don't think I ever will. And they have such gorgeous covers. But like, that's a really dumb reason to keep something. Victoria, keep your shit together. House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. This is a YA horror book that I read when it came out. I loved it. I don't remember much of it. Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I read this very recently. I only bought this recently. I don't think I'm a dark romance girly. I'm a romance girly. I'm a romantasy girly. But this, like, dark romance stuff, I don't know if it's for me. Every time I read one, I don't really like it. I have such high hopes that I'm gonna love them, and then I just never end up liking them, but it can go. Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. This is a YA, I think it's a horror, kind of like dystopian, post-apocalyptic situation, and I absolutely loved it. It's so good. Our main character is trans, which there's not enough trans representation in YA, I swear to god. I mean, I don't think there's enough trans representation anywhere. I really liked this. I would recommend it. I don't need to keep it. I'm sure someone will love to have the opportunity to pick this up wherever it ends up going. The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This book, I really loved this when I read it. Guess what though? I read it on my Kindle and I loved it, so I bought a physical copy. What a dumbass. No, like there's probably always gonna be the odd book where I do that, but when I first started reading on my Kindle, I was kind of like oh, if I really like it, I want a physical copy of everything I like. So quite a few times I've purchased a book that I already have an ebook of, and then like now that I'm transitioning to being an ebook girly, I'm like, why do I have all of these things multiple times? Kim Ji-young, Born 1982 by Chonam Chu, translated by Jamie Chang. I read this in January. This is translated fiction, literary fiction, international bestseller. It's South Korean. It's been talked about a lot, and I just thought it was alright. I liked it. Like, I thought it was interesting. It didn't really do anything for me. And I have something in my eye. How exciting. Next up, I have one that's kind of sad. What am I doing? This is the Heartstopper series. It's a graphic novel series, YA, queer, romance. It's the cutest thing you'll ever read in your life. I really enjoy these, and I am gonna read the 6th one when it comes out. I don't need to own them though. Oh my god. I'm not sure how I'm gonna read book 6. I don't know if I'm gonna get it from the library and wait 10 billion years. I feel like there is an ebook copy of it. But do I want to read that as an ebook? That feels like a weird choice to make. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. All I know is I don't need to keep these books anymore. I started reading these when I just finished high school, and I'm 24. I feel like looking at these books makes me feel like I should be a teenager still, and I'm not. And I feel like they don't belong on my shelves anymore. But this is such a good series. It's by Alice Oseman. Also, I never said that. Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, which came out last year. Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. I bought this when it came out. I was one of those people who waited years and years and years and years and years and years for it to come out, who was like pissed off when on the 10th anniversary she released A Life and Death instead of this. This is Twilight from Edward's perspective. That's what it is. That's all it is. And it's so much longer. I don't know why Twilight from Edward's perspective is 756 pages long when from Bella's perspective it's only 434. Fucked if I know. I read this. I enjoyed it. Was it worth the wait? No. There are some concerning elements in this book. A part of me is like, I want to reread it, but like, even if I do want to reread it, I certainly don't want this on my shelves anymore. It's so big. Does not need to be this big. The Magic Between by Stephanie Hoyt, illustrated by Victoria Newberry. I originally read this on my Kindle and I really loved it, so I bought a physical copy. It's going. I have a couple of A.G. Howard books here. I have kept the Splintered trilogy because that is one of my all-time favorite things I've ever read, but Untamed, which is a collection of novellas that go with the Splintered series, I don't feel the need to keep. I didn't love this as much as the original trilogy. And Stain by A.G. Howard, I really liked this when I read it as well, but I'm not gonna reread it. Like, this is one that I painted the edges of the book. I've done this to a few books and now hardcore regretting it. I have Saga volumes 1 through 4 here. These are so expensive to buy, like they always were, and now they're even more expensive and harder to get hold of because the book depository shut down. Don't get me started. I've actually got a whole bunch of volumes of this out from the library at the moment, so like I've already committed that I'm gonna finish this series from the library. I don't need to physically randomly own the first 4. Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and Volume 4. This is a sci-fi graphic novel series from Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, following 2 individuals from warring nations who have a baby together. It's just a whole fuck up. But it's interesting. I like this series. Very graphic. I mean, it's a graphic novel, so like, of course it's graphic. But you know what? Sometimes you don't need a full frontal nude shot of a man. But I do like the series and I am going to keep reading it. I just don't need to randomly own the first 4 if I'm not going to be purchasing the rest of them. And last for this section, before I go and pick up 10 billion more books, A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows. This is the first book in a series. I thought it was a standalone when I read it, but there's a sequel, and I have it out from the library. I liked this. It wasn't my favorite thing ever. It's an adult fantasy, queer, I guess it's a romance. It was alright. Okay, so that's this round. I have more. I have more! Give me a second, I have to go get them. Why does the camera always seem to get knocked when I do this? This should be the last round. I've got all the books here. Thank God, this has been an absolute process. No person should get rid of this much books at one time and try to make a video about it. I have My True Love Gave to Me, edited by Stephanie Perkins. This is 12 holiday short stories. They're like Christmas kinds of themed. I got this and read it years ago. The cover has a big slice across the middle of it, which I've taped because I'm nice like that, but the pages have also been cut through until you reach a certain point. So that's fun. This is what happens when you get books from Book Outlet. I liked this, I really did. Say it with me. I don't need to keep it. The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. This is YA contemporary. It's kind of got a female empowerment undertone, overtone. It's pretty strong. It's kind of the point. I liked this. Don't need to keep it. Kind of same thing for Rules for Being a Girl by Candace Bushnell and Katie Cotugno. This is also a lot about what a shit show it is trying to be a girl in society. And I really like this passage on the back here. It says, remember girls, put a little color on your face, shave your legs, don't wear too much makeup, don't wear short skirts, don't distract the boys by having a body, don't be one of the girls who can't eat pizza. You're getting that milkshake too? Whoa. Have you gained weight? Don't get so skinny, your curves disappear. Don't get so curvy, you aren't skinny. Don't take up too much space. Be funny, but don't hog the spotlight. Be smart, but you have a lot to learn. Don't be a doormat, but God, don't be too bossy. Be chill, be easygoing. Act like one of the guys. Don't actually act like one of the guys. Be a feminist. Support the sisterhood. Don't be easy. Don't give up. Don't be a prude. Don't be cold. Don't put him in the friend zone. Don't act desperate. Don't let things go too far. Don't give him the wrong idea. Don't blame him for trying. Don't walk alone at night. But calm down. Don't worry so much. You can do anything. You can be whatever you want to be. Just don't forget to smile. That actually makes me think of Gloria's monologue in the Barbie movie. Yeah, this is YA contemporary dealing with the bullshit of being a girl. And actually there's also some creepy shit in here with one of the teachers. I liked it. But I don't need it. The Worst Best Man and The Wedding Crasher, both by Mia Souza. These are adult romance books. They're standalones, but they're both kind of centered around wedding situations. In this one, a woman is left at the altar due to the best man, and then in this one, a woman kind of crashes a wedding. She's working at the wedding. Like, she stands up and says they shouldn't get married when they were only ever getting married as a marriage of convenience anyway. Both of these are fake dating. Both of these are great. The Wind Knows My Name by Isabel Allende. I read this earlier this year. It was fine. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be, and I just didn't connect very strongly with it, so I don't feel the need to keep it. This is translated fiction, before I forget. This is translated by Francis Riddle. It was originally written in Spanish. Maybe it's better in Spanish. I don't know. I can't read Spanish. I have two of these classic remix books that are, I think it's still going. It's like a series of things coming out. They're all YA and they're all retellings of classic novels. So I have the Little Women remix, which is So Many Beginnings, written by Bethany C. Morrow. And I have the Great Gatsby one, which is Self-Made Boys by Anna Marie McLuhan. I don't even like Great Gatsby, so I'm not sure why I thought I was gonna like that. I haven't picked up either of these. I don't really have any desire to. All That's Left in the World by Eric J. Brown. This is like a YA post-apocalyptic situation. It's queer. We follow these two guys who are trying to figure out where they can go and how they can survive in this like wasteland of what the world has become. It's really interesting. It gives zombie apocalypse, but there's no zombies. Oh, it's a pathogen. Gives COVID vibes, but it gives zombie energy when you read this book. Like, it feels like they're in a zombie apocalypse. There's just no zombies. I really enjoyed this. A Tale of Two Princes by Eric Guerin. This is YA contemporary. It's a retelling of The Prince and the Pauper. We follow we follow a literal prince. He is rich and famous, but because he's an actual prince. He's in the closet because he's the prince and he's not supposed to be queer. And we also have this out and proud cowboy. That is the quote on the back. And they discovered that they are identical twins who were separated at birth. The Poison Season by Mara Rutherford. This is a YA fantasy thing. I don't know. Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is YA horror. And Violet Made of Thorns by Gina Chen. I'm pretty sure this is also YA horror. Three Women by Lisa Tadeo. This is I still don't really know how to explain this book. The author interviewed three women and this is their stories, but she's changed it so you can't figure out who they are. And it's like their stories in regards to sex, I think. I don't really know. It has multiple pages of freaking quotes of people raving about it at the start, but like I still don't really know what it is. I tried to read it once and I got bored. And then I was like, no, that's just the mood I'm in, and I haven't picked it up since, so I'm gonna get rid of it. The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. I don't know who I was kidding when I got this. I did start reading it. I got to page 47, which doesn't sound very far, but it's not a particularly long book, so I did actually get a decent chunk into it. I was not vibing with her writing. Like, I'm sorry, Britney. I'm also not a huge Britney Spears fan. Other than Hit Me Baby One More Time, and which isn't even what it's called. It's called Baby One More Time, but whatever. And Toxic. Do I even know other Britney Spears songs? I probably do. I just don't realize what they're called or whatever. I don't know, I'm not a Britney Spears fan. I don't dislike Britney Spears. I'm neutral. I was born in 1999, so I missed the whole Britney Spears shebang. That was happening when I was born. This will go to my sister, who I know wants to read it. So I have a duology here that I can't remember what it's called, but it is A Magic Steeped in Poison and A Venom Dark and Sweet by Judy Island. I read this one when it came out in 2022 and got this one when it came out also in 2022, but then I never picked this up and now I don't care. Did I just hit the tripod? Yes. Did it change where you're looking? Lovely War by Julie Berry. I bought this years ago and I kept thinking like, oh, it sounds so interesting, I'll read it, I want to read it. Never picked it up, never gone to read it. I just need to accept that it's not gonna happen. Blood Like Magic by LaSalle Sainsbury. This is the first book in a duology. I actually have the sequel out from the library right now. I really loved this. This is a YA. It is sci-fi and fantasy. I would call it sci-fi, but our characters are witches. We have very advanced technology in this society, but also our main character is a witch from a family of witches. I liked it. I'm excited to read the sequel. Will I read it before I have to take it back to the library? That's a whole other question. I have the Warcross duology by Marie Lu. Warcross and Wildcard. Loved Warcross. Wildcard was okay. I just don't need to keep all these things. And this last one is shocking. And I'm not sure if anyone has noticed that it's missing behind me. It's the After series by Anna Todd. How do I explain this one? Okay. When I was like 14, peak Wattpad era, I was reading werewolf stories for the majority because of course I was. And one of my best friends, who's still one of my best friends now, she was reading just random like YA romancy type things. And then after, I was never a One Direction girl. I'm a big Harry Styles fan now, but like I didn't give a shit about One Direction. I actually quite liked their music, but I was never a One Direction fan or anything. And I remember my friend was reading it and she was like, you have to read it. And I was like, it's One Direction fan fiction. Why would I want to read that? And she made me read it. And then we were addicted and we were reading them together. And then they got picked up by a publisher. So I had to buy the physical copies. They also got picked up and made into movies. Those are bad. Those are point blank bad. Like, these are kind of bad. Yes, they're super problematic and toxic. Like, I would never recommend reading these books because yikes upon yikes upon yikes. I feel a little bad for Harry Styles that it got so popular because the character who is Harry, he's a complete asshole, manipulative, abusive shithole. Ooh, that was a worse insult than I thought it was going to be when I started saying it. So poor Harry Styles. Anyway, so I have the After series, which is After We Collided, After We Fell. Yes, these are long ass freaking books. After Ever Happy. And then Before, which don't get confused. You have to read this last, because a whole chunk of it is actually set after the After series. But yes, that is all of the books that I'm getting rid of. Oh my god. Oh, I charged this so that I could turn it on and have it in the background. And I forgot. Of course I did. I have no idea how many books that was, but that has taken me all day to film. What with getting up and getting more stacks and putting away the old stacks and charging my camera every 5 seconds because I didn't charge the battery before I started doing this and I only have one battery. It's so hard to be me. So yeah, I had a midlife crisis at 24 and decided to get rid of over half my books. Again, I'm not actually sure if that is half. It feels like it is. But yes, that's why my background has changed. I actually really like this as a video background. I think this is a lot more visually appealing as a video background. My room feels a lot less claustrophobic too. I really don't consider this a waste of money. Having owned these books brought me a lot of joy for a long time, so it's fine. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. It does help out the channel. Subscribe if you want to see more of my content. I do post every week, and now I have this fun and fancy free background behind me. My backgrounds in my videos are going to be a little bit splotchy for a while because there are multiple videos that I've started filming before doing this. You know what? That's just how time works. I am excited to go forth into this new chapter of my life where I own less books and buy less books. I'm also really freaking scared because like that's a huge change for me. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good for my brain and my soul. And really, what else do you need? But yeah, I hope I see you all next time in my next video. And until then, bye everyone.